Apparently the enter button was not cooperating.
Take it harder.
Sometimes it's just mashing buttons.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, look, we have some technical issues. We are sorting it out. We will start soon.
No problem at all.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, we're good to go.
We're good to go. Okay. All right, we are past 7:30. Welcome you all to the Middleton City Hall. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Common Council for February 7th, 2023 to order. And the first item is the roll call.
Aniro,
Here.
Wilkus,
Here.
Ramsey,
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Moon,
Here.
Zard,
Here.
Olson. Here. Crow,
Here.
all present.
Okay, so the next item is the public comments. It's limited to 30 minutes per speaker. Do we have any? Brian is going to keep track of the time. Anybody who wants to speak under the public comment section? Well, I will just say a couple of things here that one of the Middleton residents turned 100 years old on January 31st, Edith Sylvester, and I issued a mayor's proclamation. She had lived here in Middleton when Middleton was a village. And so she has been there and she's a very strong person. Many of you know her. So happy birthday to Edith. So, okay, with that, I'm going to call the public comments section closed and we are going to move to the approval of the consent agenda. It has the approval of the January 17th, 2023 Common Council meeting minutes, order of the bills to be paid as approved by the Finance Committee, proposed maintenance agreement with MSA for maintenance inspection of private stormwater facilities, agreement with Public Service Commission of Wisconsin Office of Energy Innovation for an Energy Innovation Grant, amendment number 2, agreement with EOR for flood mapping services, and last one is collateral assignment of TIF agreement for 3810 Parmenter Phase 2. Need a motion to.
A motion, just a point of information and clarity on the consent agenda, 2 items. Number 5, there just was a change at the Finance Committee to change the completion date to May 15th. And then item number 6 to add subject to city attorney approval.
Okay, we don't need to, we can still do it in the consent agenda, right?
Unless someone wants to move it separately.
Does anybody want to move it separately or let's do it under consent agenda? Is everybody okay to do with it?
I move approval of the consent agenda with the amendments that Administrator Gatto noted.
Okay, need a second?
I will second it, but I want to make a comment also in support.
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I said this in finance and I want to say it again here about the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin Office of Energy Innovation Grant. I'm in support of it, that it's coming from PSC and it supports our mission, but our goals of energy efficiency, but it uses a different source of funding and the landlords are engaged. They Wisconsin Housing Preservation Corporation, they have a history of long-term workforce housing, keeping them for longer periods of time. And I'm very supportive of this grant.
And by the way, talking about Wisconsin Housing Preservation, they have 8,500 units in Wisconsin. And a big part of them in Middleton, Madison area. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to the proclamation. And this idea was brought to me by Elder Emily Kuhn. And this proclamation was produced by our city administrator, Brian Caddo. He was the one who provided it. So I'm going to ask the Elder Emily Kuhn to read it.
Thank you. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1926 of Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month and is now celebrated all over North America. And whereas the 2023 national theme for the observance is Black Resistance and takes a look at how African Americans have fought repression from America's earliest days. Whereas America is a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, all part of the land of the free. Black History Month fosters cultural awareness and understanding while encouraging education about contributions made by Americans of color. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month is a positive way of recognizing the culture and history of African Americans as vital to the core beliefs and values in this society. And whereas the city of Middleton continues to work toward becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions to our community, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas the city of Middleton is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans in our community throughout our state and nation. And
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Middleton and Marlborough hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in Middleton and encourage the local citizenry to participate in activities that foster awareness and appreciation of the African Americans' contribution to shaping the history of Middleton, Dane County, Wisconsin, and the United States of America. This proclamation was adopted at the regular meeting of the Middleton Common Council on the 7th day of February 2023. So this is the proclamation observing the Black History Month, February 2023. Need a motion to approve.
this is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
I'll second. This is Hanira.
Okay, any questions or comments? Otherwise, all those in favor of the, Sure.
Ellen, if you hear of any activities or anything going on in honor of this, it would be nice for you to bring that back so we know how to go celebrate it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
that'd be nice.
Thank you.
okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve the proclamation observing the Black History Month in Middleton, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, we are on to the next item, next exciting item. So the agreement with Middleton Cross Plain Area School District for school resource officers for 2023-2024. And this has been approved by the school area district, and our Middleton Police Department is very much in favor of it. It was approved by the Finance Committee. Need a motion to approve.
This
I'll
is-
make, oh, go ahead.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments? This is the right thing to do. And do you want to say anything, Chief?
While the chief is taking the microphone, I'll just add that one of the changes suggested in finance is when we sign it to strike out the two references to his or her and replace it with their. in the
Okay.
language.
Well, let's make those changes.
Just real quickly, this is an agreement that we came up with after the comprehensive review in 2020, 2021 about their SRO program. We have a fantastic relationship with the school district. We're very fortunate. And this is one of our best community policing programs for the police department. So we're very much in support of it. We appreciate Superintendent Minogue and all of her team supporting the police department and the relationship we have with the school district.
Great job, Dr. Manogue and Chief. Super. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the agreement with Middleton Cross Plain Area School District for school resource officers for 2023-2024 with that modification, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you, Dr. Manogue. Item number 2 under agreements, amendment to agreement for construction, administrative services, public art, and donor recognition display for Stone Horse Green.
Mrs. Olson, I'll make that motion to approve for the amount of $16,853 from TIF 3 funding as approved by finance.
This is Katie. I'll second.
Hey, any questions or comments? So Abby, that's it, right?
One year word yes will be sufficient.
I certainly hope so. We will need to bring forward a budget amendment at the next meeting because this is 16,000 in additional funds that were not budgeted into District 3. So I'm gonna work with Bill over the next couple of weeks to put together additional fundraising that's come in and true up all of the expenses in the account. We did leave the last sentence in my staff comments. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was still on. My apologies. So we did leave enough funding in the account, which is requested as a capital carryover to finish the construction contract. But this 16,853 is additional costs. And so that will require a budget amendment.
So Bill, we have the money at TIF to cover it?
Yeah, we do. And there's money in the TIF budget in other TIF projects. So it would be a budget transfer from other TIF projects, kind of that general placeholder to this specific project.
Okay, so you will, Abby, and you will work together to sort it out.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the amendment to agreement for construction administrative services, public art and donor recognition display for Stonehorse Green, say aye.
Excuse me,
Oh,
before voting.
Yes, sir.
I didn't realize this wasn't budgeted
I
yet.
noticed you didn't.
So I think the motion should be amended to approve, but defer the execution and enforcement until the funds have been budgeted for the project.
Emily, you want?
To defer until the
Oh,
funds have been
okay.
budgeted for the project.
Is that okay with you?
Recommended by Larry.
So it's gotta be.
So are you happy now, Larry?
bet.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so all those in favor of the amended motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Larry. That was quick response. Yes. All right. Item number 3. Agreements with CGC, Gestra, and SES for 2023 testing services. This is the yearly thing, and which we do, and need a motion to approve.
Mrs. Wilkus, I'll make a motion to approve on behalf of Public Works.
All right, need a second.
Ramsey, a second.
Okay, boy, 2 folks from Public Works. So any questions or comments? This is what we do every year, and Sean and the whole department needs it. Okay, all those in favor of approving the agreement with CGC, Gestra, and SES for 2023 testing services, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Next one is the award of bid, court, and professional services. Start with item number 1, award of professional services contract aerial spray for spongy moth control.
This is Katie. I will move approval.
This is Alder Keen. I'll second.
Okay, Mark, do you want to go ahead and say something, whichever you want to say?
I just wanted to add publicly, we talked about this at PRC last night. With this, we have the contractor taken care of, but we're not out of the woods yet. Meaning that I do have to start the public permission process, which means I have to send letters out to all of the homeowners within the spray blocks. And we're working on that with city legal in terms of process. And the reason it could be quite problematic is if we get objectors, then we have to start amending the spray block areas. And if we have too many of them, that could effectively eliminate spraying altogether. So I'm a little cautious at this yet because obviously I'm anticipating some people saying no.
Katie, go ahead.
It just came to my attention this evening that I thought we were under in the works for trying to amend our ordinance so that we could spray in an emergency situation like this. And I'm told that one of the city legal is not on board.
Larry, why can't you get on board?
Well, I haven't done the research, but Matt Fleming did, and he concluded that the DNR has been pretty solid on not allowing spongy moth spraying on private property without the permission of the property owner. And exactly how you get that permission is up to us, but we simply can't enter private property and spray without permission from the property owner. It's as basic as that.
But the DNR did.
Well, the DNR, has, from what I reviewed of Matt's legal opinion, would greatly prefer to have advance permission anytime spraying is done on private property.
There's a different standard at the state level than what that we have. It's that what ATC 29 or whatever that was referenced. And that's why the DNR could do that before, and why DATCAP can now on the outer edges. They can just spray and say too bad. But we have a different set of standards that we have to achieve.
Go ahead, Katie.
I also just want to make a note to the public that BTK is a very innocuous substance. It's a form of bacillus, like you'd find in yogurt, that's used in baking. And that's how innocuous this spray is. So I urge all of your neighbors everybody, I think all of the spraying is going to be in District 3. I live on Park Street. Some of the trees are older than the state of Wisconsin, and they were mostly defoliated. So I urge you to give permission to do this so we can save our trees. It's non-toxic to humans. It's non-toxic to animals. So that's all I want to say.
It's toxic to.
It's toxic to the sponge moth.
So Larry, is there a way where we could justify it as a public good?
No. We face the risk that someone will say we trespassed on their land without permission. And there's case law that suggests that even the most innocuous trespass, if it's actionable and succeeds, can subject the city to damages far in excess of the actual damage to the property caused by the trespass.
It's coming from the air.
You own the air.
Right. That's the problem.
Okay, Elder Lisa Hanner.
Mark, approximately how many houses are we talking about?
It's the first block is 95 acres. The second one is about 7. So if you figure, let's say we all have large lots and say a half acre, you're looking at the better part of 250 homes, probably more like 300, I would imagine. So it's not going to be a small amount. And so the process, we're going to send it out certified mail. In that will be the who, where, why, what. That will also then have some dates for some public listening sessions, along with my phone number, which is going to be great. And we're just going to have to go from there. What the other unknown is that we're trying to figure out is then if we don't get a letter back, does that mean implied consent, or do we have to then follow up some other way, manner, form? There's a lot of unknowns, unfortunately, because the state, again, doesn't have to follow these procedures. We do. And unfortunately, as much as Middleton likes to be first with a lot of things, we are kind of first with this one. So there isn't a lot of precedent for how to follow this process.
So Larry, could we actually send a letter that if they don't respond, that means they agree?
Well, that's an option that Matt is considering right now. I don't want to preempt his review of that exact question. I know he's looking at it.
Elder Emily Koo.
I know you're looking at sending out a letter. Are you looking to send it out in the next like 2 or 3 weeks? Because,
Oh, you have to do it right now.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I'm asking because some of the homeowners are in my district. And so
Sorry, I thought they were all in three.
it's just on the border. So yeah. But I'm asking because like Katie, Alder Nelson will have is there might be a call volume. So if you guys can just give us a heads up,
Sure.
it may help us answer. Thank you.
I'd like to offer to have my phone number on your letter, though.
Okay.
So that's for everyone. So could we actually recruit the people who were really, concerned and ask them, could we actually have a signature where the, rather than sending the letter, they could go out in the neighborhood and those citizens could get signatures from their neighbors?
Consent of any kind, assuming it's informed consent, so that the person who signs understands what they're being asked to consent to, would be fine.
It's a
So,
possibility. I would be a little concerned with the messaging going out if we have multiple people doing that. And I know one of the reasons we were thinking certified mail is it does give a really nice paper trail for that to be said, no, this is the process we took.
okay, all right, the way to go. So let's get it done. Well, after we vote on this one, I suppose so. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the award of professional services contract to the aerial spray for spongy mouth control, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mark, start tomorrow morning and let's get it going. So, okay, item number 2. Award of bid asphalt pump track construction project. Again, Mark. All right, need a motion to approve.
I'll move approval.
Need a second.
Ramsey, a second.
All right, so any questions or comments? We already talked about at the finance, there's only one bid.
Make a comment. And this is as a Dane County grant as part of this also?
Yes. Yeah, it's a combination of park funds and grant that was written and received by CORP, which is the Capital Off-City or Capital Off-Road Pathfinders.
And we've talked a little bit about this at tourism, and this would be something that could bring people in from a pretty wide area because it'll be unique and it'll be a nice.
Yeah, there are very few
Potential
around
there.
the area.
Yeah, so it's wonderful. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, this is, I know there was a one built in Madison last year or year before, but this will be even better and bigger, right? Hopefully. Nicer, newer. Well, definitely newer. How about that? Okay, any other questions or comments? Elder Luke, how do we, I can't really tell him. Do you have any questions either on this one or the past ones?
I do not. Thank you for checking.
So you are good.
I'm not good. I'm great.
Oh, okay. All right. We like that. Okay. If there are no further questions or comments, all those in favor of approving the award of bid for asphalt pump track construction project, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. We are on to miscellaneous. Item number 1. Consideration of request for state legislative action to expand the term of tax incremental financing district number 5, something which we tried some time ago and we're going to try it again. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion. This is Haniro.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second.
All right. Larry, do you want to say anything?
No.
You don't. Does anybody else want to say
I'll
anything?
just note that
All
the
right.
Finance Committee approved recommending this. If this legislation passes, it'll preserve the option for us to extend the time, the date, and also change the number of amendments, but it doesn't require us to do either of those actions. So.
Correct.
Excellent. I think it will make Abby happy as well as some of the other people. Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, all those in favor of the approval of the motion or the consideration of request for state legislative action to expand the terms of tax incremental financing district number 5, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. We are on to item number, big one here. This is the consideration of policy option for in-person versus virtual city committees, boards, and commissions. Larry, who want to take it?
Brian wrote the report.
Brian, go ahead.
Happy to take it. So this is again based upon the feedback I received from the council at our committee of the whole meeting last month in January. So what I put together in the memo is the two different policy options that were asked for. Just apologize as I'm scrolling back up to the item so everyone can see it. Again, option one, at least in the discussion at the January 27th meeting, was to be kind of an all or nothing proposition. So everybody comes back to in person. But we would still offer the parallel Zoom component of the meeting for the public to participate like we're doing this evening. The second option would be, again, based upon your feedback, we would exempt out certain committees that had a majority or were primarily city older focused. So city council, finance committee, personnel committee, board of review, plan commission. I heard a suggestion potentially adding license and ordinance committee to that list. Those committees would be required to meet in person. The other committees, the other policy committees that the city have would be allowed to kind of establish for their membership whether or not they want to meet in person or hybrid or completely virtual with some additional policy language that we could draft as need be. I also did some additional research, talking to some colleagues across the county to get a sense of what they were doing. I had included a couple of examples that I had found from those contacts. City of Verona's policy, which just to be clear, applies only to their city council, is included in their packet. They do allow virtual participation under some limitations in terms of the number of physically present members that need to be there in order to constitute quorum. Sun Prairie and McFarland also allow virtual attendance. Sun Prairie's policy is included in the packet as well. I mentioned in the memo kind of the timeline that we're running into in terms of it being time sensitive. Because the resolution previously adopted last year, we have to make some determination by March 1 of 23. Otherwise, the default is that everyone's back in person. So the suggestion from staff was that the council consider amending that March 1 deadline to provide more time for us to, for the council as a body to talk through the different options, provide staff direction on how you'd like us to craft, be it a charter amendment or an amendment and a policy in tandem to address this. And we take any feedback that you have this evening.
So I will go ahead and start. And let's start with Verona. Verona did not mend their quorum requirements, and Larry agrees with me. All they have really done is that how to run the meetings by using hybrid technology, and I'm all for adding the hybrid technology to the way we run our meetings, but their meetings are in person. The city council meets in person. Their quorum requirement is still 6, and they went in one step further, that no elder may have a virtual presence more than 4 times in a year. So I think, I don't really have any issue with that. Then I looked at the Sun Prairie, and their protocol is, again, it's because of the COVID pandemic, it's virtual meeting protocol. In the case of Verona, I have to look at my older notes, but the committees and all of those things, they're really, I have to sure I was not able to get hold of those mayors, but their committees and all of those, they're meeting in person. And most city committees in Middleton are meeting in person now. And no citizen on any of the committees have yet asked me that they would not attend these meetings if they were to be in person. And even when these are meetings like this, you need a quorum, and 25 to 30% of the members still can be virtual by using hybrid technology. I think having this hybrid technology is great. So what we should be really talking about is setting up some protocol like both Verona and Sunprairie did and probably others too, how to use the hybrid technology. And that's what we should be talking about. I don't think we need a charter ordinance. This is the COVID-19 is almost gone. And it's not 2020, it's 2023. This ordinance is looking for a problem to solve which has ceased to exist. Let's talk about the use of hybrid technology, as I said earlier, Sun Prairie, and so it's possible that there are some committees may want to meet virtually, but they could ask for permission from the city council, and they have to give a valid reason for doing this. I believe in openness, transparency, accountability, and as we all know, over 95% of the decisions made in committees are approved by the city council as they are, or with slight modification. Not asking for the committees to meet in person is really not openness and transparency in my mind. I would say all should meet in person from March 1st, 2023. If there are problems, let's work it out to solve those problems rather than started envisaging that there will be problems. We used to meet before April 2020. Everybody was meeting in person. I mean, nothing really has changed biologically that we can't meet in person. I think so. I would say that I said it enough that we should be meeting in person. Period. And I don't think we need to do anything. And that's where we are. And Larry, do you want to say something? I did send you some of those. If you have anything else that you want to add.
If the council wants to continue to require the existing in-person quorum requirements that exist by state law, that is the only topic which was necessitated a charter ordinance. Anything else, anything you want to do with committees, certainly could be done as the other communities have done. So, the charter ordinance that started this discussion was intended to start a discussion. I guess we are lucky in that. But clearly, if the council says we're going to continue as we have before. So here we have a quorum physically present. We have a member participating remotely. That's precisely what the city policy has been for years. The only difference is that Alder Fuzard is appearing by Zoom rather than conference call. So that fits perfectly into what we've done for many, many years before. If that's what we want to do, keeping the physical presence of 6 for council meetings in place, you can discard that charter ordinance and never think about it again.
Yep, I think I agree with you. Yes, and I don't.
Mayor, I agree with you that I don't think the charter ordinance is necessary. I note that neither Verona nor Sun Prairie made their changes through a charter ordinance. The League of Wisconsin Municipalities wrote an article in July of 2021 about quorum and remote meetings, said nothing about requiring a charter ordinance. Green Bay has a very simple policy cited in that article, and the Village of Bayside in Milwaukee County, they have a fairly simple ordinance that they adopted, also cited in the article. So I would like to not pursue the charter ordinance and not see it again at any future meetings. We've talked about it so much. And I find your suggestion appealing in its simplicity, right? Let's just not do anything. And as of March 1st, things go back to the way they used to be. I don't think that's realistic though. And I say that because I'm mindful of the committees being able to attract more people to their meetings than they would if the meetings were held in person. I know that's the case for the Sustainability Committee. We often have a group of people who show up. So, to achieve the goals of openness and transparency, I actually think letting the committees that want to, whose members vote to continue to meet virtually, I think whatever changes we make to our ordinance should give those committees the opportunity to continue to meet virtually. But I do agree that council should be in person. Just finish, Katie. I would note that the Verona ordinance actually does allow members like Alder Fassard right now to participate and be part of the quorum. They do not.
Not part of the quorum.
No, he's not part of the quorum.
He's not, but in the
Not in Verona either.
in Verona, it
Nope.
says all members participating virtually shall only count toward quorum and be allowed to participate in the meeting if their camera is on.
But at the same time, they require the quorum of 6 out of 8 to be present physically for that to be considered as a quorum. Alder.
I'm
Yes.
wondering, what Lisa's saying, I agree mostly with. Do we need a charter ordinance to allow a committee to meet virtually to count as quorum?
No, the charter ordinance dealt solely with the statute, which specifies quorum for common council meetings. Nothing else is covered by that
I remember you
statute.
saying that.
So
Thank
we
you.
could do it by policy or by resolution if the group thought that would be better, or even a simple ordinance amendment for committees. But charter ordinance simply is not in the picture so long as it's not the common council.
Got it.
Okay,
So
so
to follow up on what Alder Nelson just asked in your response, if we do nothing with regard to the charter ordinance and council, things will go back to the way they used to be, where Alder Fassard can participate, but he wouldn't count towards the quorum. If we want to give our committees, commissions, and boards the chance to continue to meet remotely, we would need to amend our ordinance. Not through a charter ordinance, because that doesn't apply to committees.
I will let Larry talk, but most of our committees are already meeting in person. I think,
I don't have any committees meeting in person.
Yeah, I have
Which one?
sustainability.
I don't have any committees meeting in person.
oh, okay, well, okay, and I can give you the names which are,
That's fine, but I can tell you of the committees I'm on, finance is the only one that's meeting in person. The other three, Water Resources Management Commission, Airport Commission, and Sustainability are all meeting virtually right now at the request of their members.
okay, Larry, you have anything to say? They should be meeting in person, period. Yes, Elder.
Just so you guys know, I'm at 80% in person. So I'm glad that you guys have virtual. I'm not jealous. But the Aging Commission have been back, I want to say, for almost a year. And public safety is the same. So, and then of course, finance and personnel, we meet in person. So I was under the impression when this came up 4 months ago or 6 months ago that everyone had the same. And it was actually the mayor who told me that it wasn't. And I was more surprised because I thought we were back in person because that's what I was dealing with. So I'm just trying to share that perspective.
Emily, can I ask you how that decision was made? Was it just made by the chair or was there a vote among your committee members?
I'm looking at public safety because I don't remember the senior citizens. I don't think Tammy's in the rooms. With the senior citizens, with the Aging Commission, I think they requested us to come in and just be heavily masked and be considerate. Do you remember if it was the same for public safety? Because I think we might have asked to come back in. Is it green?
It's green.
Okay.
We polled the committee members and they agreed to meet in person.
Thank you.
How about the police commission is in person, right?
Yes, police commission back in person too.
We need uniformity. We don't need chaos here. And I think whatever it is, there has to be, some uniform policy here. If somebody doesn't want to meet, in person, there has to be a very good reason. But, all of them don't have to be in person. As I said earlier, only the quorum has to be in person. The other can participate by our hybrid technology. So Lisa, even in sustainability, I don't know what the number is. You need 6 to be there. Other 4 can be still by hybrid technology.
Well, I would mildly object to your characterization of it as chaos, because obviously we've been getting recommendations from Sustainability, Water Resources Management Commission, and the Airport Commission, and it's been seamless and not chaotic. So again, I personally, I prefer meeting in person because I can read body language and, just be a part of the discussion. But I do recognize the value, especially in Wisconsin winters, the value of giving people the chance to Zoom into meetings. It's better for sustainability reasons to not have everybody driving their cars. And it does open it up to greater public participation than I think we would get if we met in person.
Yeah, let me just add that, if you are considering for governmental bodies other than the council, allowing forums to be established electronically, the Sun Prairie policy paragraph 4 describes one way of doing that. And I'm not saying it's the best way, but it is a way of making sure that you have a quorum either in the room or on the Zoom call or however you're going to do it.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a point of information for the body. Again, this is not a pro or con, but just a piece of information for you to consider. One of the things about the Zoom technology or appearing in an all virtual capacity or some sort of virtual hybrid, depending if this room is available, is that when you use the Zoom platform, there is the opportunity for staff to record the meeting to the cloud. That can then be linked to the YouTube channel so that the meeting is available for the general public to review after the meeting. If the meeting is in person and it's not in a room where there's recording capability, that meeting happens absent any sort of recording. So if we're having the conversation about what options provide additional transparency for actions that policy committees make, that's one data point to consider.
Okay, Lady Nelson.
Thank you, Brian. That's an excellent point. I also want to consider the city staff who have already put in a long day before a meeting, and perhaps virtual is a nicer way for them to run a committee meeting. I don't know.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Kathy.
I think the Verona and Sun Prairie, they have a lot of good things in here about different ways they handle their meeting. I do not, and the council, if we want to keep the quorum at 6 and have the hybrid, that's fine. These other committees, I think we have to have flexibility. And I agree, Katie, with the staff. I just can't understand why we've gone, staff has to be here to record a meeting that, if everybody wants to be remote. I just don't think that that's a good use of their time, and we want to be flexible with this. But as far as for council, I'm all about if you want to have the physical quorum and you want to allow hybrid, I like the way they have this all laid out where you have to, if you have a handout, you have to be able to see it. So you have to be with a video on. And I think that's important. I like the way they, I don't like the way they have like the closed session where you can't be remote for a closed session. I think that there's ways that we could make that work too. I don't think you lose your quorum just because of that. Yeah, I think that there's for regular committees. Brian, I understand the committees that you pointed out, and yes, they're made up mostly of staff. I think that those committees, they could follow the same protocols as the council as far as having physical quorums, but I don't see any reason for the rest of the committees to have a physical quorum.
Okay, so
I have a question for Larry, the benefit of a resolution or a policy that we have examples of here versus making a change to the ordinance. It would be I think changes to chapter 2 specifically. Is there one that's preferable? Is it more?
Well, and maybe this is, since seem to be the only one who thinks a charter ordinance was necessary in the first place for council meetings, maybe I'm overstressing formality. But I think that if we're going to have a standard policy that is applicable to all committees, it's probably better to just make an ordinance amendment to do it so that everybody has it. They don't have to look for a policy that was adopted 10 years ago, not know where it is. So I would recommend an ordinance.
I think
A question for Larry. One of the things they said is participate in no more than 4 virtual meetings unless there's a public health order restricting attendance, a restriction of the capacity of meeting location, weather event, or as communicated by the city administrator or some other extraordinary circumstances. Would that require a charter ordinance that if we want to be able to, okay, because Abby, I don't know if you remember, but the flood of 2018, we were sitting in a sustainability meeting that night and Deb Sager barely got home that night. It was very dangerous to be out and doing that. And like you say, with winter weather, there's all kinds of weather events and we can predict these things pretty well now. I think we have to be able to adjust. If we see whether it's going to be a problem, we could still meet. That's not an issue.
Well, that's a policy choice too.
Yeah.
Whether you want to have 4, 6, or say nothing is up to you. It's
But
not.
if we emergency or unexpected situations, we can change where the meetings are held. We can go virtual without having a chart problem with the.
Correct.
I'm sure there are.
Except for council, right?
Except for council.
Oh, I was even
No,
thinking,
for council, you can't because of state statute.
so in a weather
So you have to have a
emergency,
charter
we would
ordinance.
cancel the council
you
meeting
cancel.
instead of having a virtual meeting.
Yeah.
You could theoretically invoke the irrelevant to this discussion emergency government rules, which are totally different.
That'd be a big step to take for one meeting though, wouldn't
I just wanted to note that the Village of Bayside, one of the things I liked in their ordinance is that they have a provision that says virtual meetings and remote attendance in this, I believe, is for council members. Virtual meetings and remote attendance are not authorized solely for convenience or due to vacation, travel, or seasonal relocation of one or more members of the body, because that's something we talked about, like what happens if somebody spends winters, in Florida.
So that's why those 4, which we don't have required, you don't want to somebody make a habit of, well, I'm going to do it. I just like to stay home. I don't think I want to go to the meeting. So that's why there's a reason why, we have it. I mean, those state statutes are there for a reason.
But
So,
what if your habit is that you're in a wheelchair?
pardon me?
What if your habit of not making the meetings is that you're in a wheelchair?
Or on bed rest.
Well, then there's a 20, that's something which we have to deal with.
Well, and I'm even aware of some small Wisconsin governments, not the governing body of a city, village, or town, but lower governments than that, where the 3 members of the governing body go to Florida every year and they meet by phone. They've been doing it that way for years. No one's challenged it.
I'm just going to ask, do they have the charter ordinance in place?
Well, no, they're not a city. This is a city law. No, they don't have anything at all. They just do it. Just saying, no one has objected.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything with this one. So you will come up with something to,
Well, I think what would make sense, now that we've got some policies to ruminate on, I think this would be a good topic for either L&O or committee of the whole. You decide which, where they can consider that, decide which policy, because I don't want to impose my unilateral policies on you. It's your policies. And so then we can draft an ordinance once a body has reviewed it.
okay,
And then
I'm okay
just
with that. So, but
for clarification, then do we direct our committees, commissions, and boards to hold their March meetings in person and discuss this matter? Or is it okay for them to continue to meet?
they have to start meeting in person starting March 1st.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I thought the council.
Not the
No.
council.
Not, but I don't think that's true, Gertie, that they have to start meeting.
Brian, did you
We
ask?
don't have any emergency thing here that's gone. They have to meet in person.
No, I thought we could.
Well, let's ask Larry. He may know a little bit
Brian
more
asked
about law.
for an extension?
Yeah, because as of resolution 2265,
Larry?
Correct. The resolution that's on the screen is the one that you adopted at the end of last year, which sets the March 1 effective date, removing the declaration of the emergency, which means the normal rules for quorum would be applicable unless that deadline was amended by the council.
Right,
So
and
if we
that's,
don't extend that come March 1st, then we go back to the old policy. You
right.
revert back to policy, and policy is you come in person.
And that's why I was asking just for clarification. So it seems like if we do nothing and with the assumption that we can't possibly come up with an ordinance that will allow committees, commissions and boards to meet virtually before March 1st, that means doing nothing, which means they're going to have to meet in person in March. And I think that's fair. I don't think that's a terrible hardship. Somebody's got to communicate that to them. But I'm wondering, do we think at all it's possible for someone to put together an ordinance to be approved on the first reading at our next meeting on February 22nd?
Nero, it was communicated to them earlier. They were supposed to meet right after that ordinance that we extended up to March 1st. And everybody knows this. I think all the committees know that they're going to start meeting in person on March 1st. I don't think there's any issue there.
I can verify that the airport commission is not thinking, they're aware that they might need to, but they're not planning to meet in person.
Right.
Oh,
And
they
we
will
meet the first Thursday. of-
They will have to. I mean, this is, anyway.
What if we extended this to the second meeting in April when we're turning over the.
Oh, I like that.
Extend the emergency
deadline?
declaration.
I don't know, it's just not an emergency declaration, but I don't know. Can it be called, Larry?
Well, you've declared the end of the public emergency related to COVID-19. The only thing you would be changing is the separate topic of normal quorum requirements. And if you wanted to amend the March 1 date to some other date, it would be in order for someone to make such a motion.
What I don't understand is, which I really have a hard time understanding, we have been meeting in person until April 20, whatever. There was no problem. All of a sudden, something has changed in Middleton here or somewhere that you can't meet in person. This is just, they have a choice. If they don't want to meet in person, they could have told me we have people waiting to serve on those committees. They don't have to be on that committee. They can leave. So, in fact, anybody wants to leave because they have to meet in person are welcome to leave. So we have been meeting forever in person, and then all of a sudden, because of there was a pandemic there, which is nearly over, we can't meet in person. This is just simply very interesting. Okay, so do we need to?
I have a motion to put forward.
Okay,
I would move that we extend the effective date of resolution number 2265. From March 1st, 2023 to May 1st, 2023. I would then move that we refer to LNO the changes to chapter 2 that would allow committees to make decisions on their own behalf of their meeting requirements. And then I would also move that we refer the need for a hybrid meeting policy to the next meeting of the committee of the whole.
I'll second that motion.
Do we know when there'll be any idea when the next committee of the whole might be?
That's why I made the May 1st deadline, because I don't know.
We don't, because again, it's dependent on
is
the
that in
availability of the
order?
body.
Could that motion be made?
Sure.
Okay.
Help me understand what you proposed then. You propose to have another committee meeting of the whole to discuss whatever?
Specifically, a hybrid meeting policy similar to what the city of Verona has for the meeting of this body.
Sorry, just so I'm clear. Okay, so let me just read back the motion, make sure I've got it. So motion would be to extend the effective date of resolution 22-65 from March 1st to May 1st. Second, refer to LNO any potential changes to chapter 2 to allow committees, commissions, and boards to meet in a hybrid or virtual manner. And then the third part was refer a hybrid meeting policy to LNO or to the committee on the whole. I just want to make sure.
Committee of the whole.
Committee on the whole.
And then can you're gonna have a whole council turnover, and are you gonna be able to schedule a committee meeting of the whole? I mean, my biggest concern with this is that this has gone on forever. It's gotta end. And so, I mean, is it possible to get all these meetings in so a decision can be made? So moving May forward, May 1st, there's an actual decision in place?
My impression is that the May 1st date, the committee of the whole meeting would be this body.
Yes.
So that
This current council.
puts then the policy off until.
Well, it could be
Essentially-
done in March. It's just that, like you said, we've been dealing with this for a long time. So it doesn't look like, we're going to do this very quickly.
Yeah, the intention would be to schedule a committee of the whole meeting in March, depending on availabilities of people, and have that discussion with this current body as it's
Yeah, that was
constituted.
mine. I thought we discussed that at committee of the whole that we were meeting. more frequently.
Elder Kendra, you had something?
I was just going to mention that my understanding at the last committee of the whole meeting was that we anticipated having we had outstanding issues from that meeting that we wanted to discuss, and this was one of them. And so I was anticipating that we'd be meeting sooner rather than later.
Kathy?
One thing I see different, Dan, is that we kind of have a template of different ways of doing this now that we didn't have before. We were under a completely different, we didn't have a lot of guidance, and I think we can craft something that makes a lot of sense based on what we see here.
And I agree, it's been uncharted waters, but we also have to agree that this is getting ridiculous.
The stake in the sand and let's make a decision, huh?
I'd like to see this decided before I leave.
I agree with you. It is becoming ridiculous. And this whole discussion, meeting in person or not, is just absolutely, I'm going to just say interesting.
I think that the LNO committee can craft something that'll be.
Well, they had a chance once. We'll see. So, Elder Luke.
Did you get a second, Kendra, on your motion?
I seconded.
Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions?
He is no longer on the meeting.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion. Okay, so motion passes 6-1-1. Thank you, Emily. And Luke?
He's no longer on the
It's
meeting.
gone.
Okay, he's no longer there, so it's only,
6-1.
okay, 6-1. So he's gone. So, okay. We are on to the ordinance. This is the first reading, final action may be taken upon approval of the motion to suspend rules under section 1.07 Middleton General Ordinances. Ordinance to amend section 3.12 of the Middleton General Ordinances relating to the dog license fee.
Mr. Mayor, as
Elder
recommended by
Hanea.
Finance, I move that we refer this matter to the License and Ordinance Committee for a recommendation with justification regarding A, what the specific fees should be for intact versus spayed or neutered dogs, and B, adding as required by Wisconsin statute 175.055, a $5 late fee per dog for licenses obtained on April 1 or later each year, with exceptions as needed for dogs acquired or moving into the city after that date.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Alder Crowe.
Okay, all right. Let the discussion begin now then.
Well, as I indicated in the Finance Committee meeting, I know that our peer cities and the state statute have different fees for intact versus spayed or neutered dogs, and I think it's important to maintain those. I would note that the state law requires the minimum fee for an intact dog to be $8. And it's $3 for a spayed or neutered dog. So that's a pretty big differential when you think of in terms of multipliers. And so I think it's important for us to maintain different fees for different types of dogs. I also think it's important for us to abide by the state law that requires us to charge a late fee and presumably try to get people to register their dogs before April 1st each year.
So Lori, would it create a lot of work for you? Would it create a lot of work for you? This is different kind of for dogs, late fee, all of those things.
Yeah. So to be clear, the county charges us fees. So the $8 fee, I think those are the minimums that the state statute allows. We have to pay the county $18.75 per license for each unfixed, unaltered dog. Unaltered, and $13.75 for each fixed dog or altered dog. So we have increased our fees as the county keeps increasing these fees, what we have to pay to the county. So I'm not sure, we'd have to ask Eleanor or Larry if we are paying a different dollar amount to the county for the altered and non-altered dogs. So I don't know if changing our fee to one flat $1.25 would make a difference, if you see what I'm saying, because we're still paying the county.
Well, and how much is our fee now?
It's 24 altered and 25 for non-altered.
Okay, so at least we're not paying the county more than we're taking in.
Right.
Which I thought I heard it was
Yes.
before.
I think they just last increased their fee last year. This year, I don't know if they've increased it yet this year, but
Well, the chief spoke at the L&O meeting and if I can summarize what he said.
Well, chief is right here and he can summarize it for you. Let's chief. Well, let him earn his money. He's here. Otherwise, he want to be with his family, right?
I'm just money. Picking up dogs.
What's the question? I know it's about
Larry,
the
what's the
dogs.
question?
The question was, is there a problem from your perspective if we charge a flat fee for all dogs and the county charges a different fee? We just send different amounts depending on the type of dog.
As I mentioned at finance, I'm really not the dog license expert in the city. I would really defer to Lori. I see no issues from the police department's perspective. We don't really enforce that. We find a dog that's not licensed, we'd recommend that they get licensed. But I can't remember the last time we issued a citation for a dog that was not licensed in the city.
I thought you said, that's why it's good you're there. I thought you said something to the effect that as long as our license fee was larger than the county's fee, it wouldn't matter. We just send whatever the fee would be
I
to
don't
the
think that
county
came
and
from
keep
me.
the balance.
I don't remember saying that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's been a long day, so I was making sure I didn't.
And you probably got a lot more important things to do other than be chasing the dogs. I would imagine that issue a citation, Katie Nelson, and then.
I would think that one flat fee that would make sure you're covering the unaltered dog fee for the county would be fine. And I'm also not sure how you check on this with somebody turning in paperwork.
Their paperwork, you have to show a certificate of rabies vaccination
and then
and
it
it
does
indicates
say
on that
male, neutered,
what kind of
okay.
dog you have.
Yeah.
Alexander.
And these are separate from dog park licenses. So
Correct.
what do these fees go to? Where do the? does it go
These
to-
fees go pretty much back to the county.
Okay.
I mean, we don't really make
The
anything.
$7
Yeah.
that you're making is nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
So
And that's just basically for the office
we're
time.
basically licensing dogs for the county,
Okay.
right? You
Yeah.
know, but
Okay.
it is in our ordinance that we require dog licenses. I think the main reason for dog licenses is to prove your dog has rabies. I don't think altered and non-altered has anything, to do with it. They want you to have a rabies shot
Vaccine.
for your dog, and to get that license, you have to have a rabies certificate.
Well, but there is a reason why everybody, including the state statute and the county and our peer cities, have different fees for intact versus altered dogs. And it's because intact dogs roam, they produce puppies, they have to, those puppies and kittens too need to be euthanized. So, I mean, and also for health reasons. So I don't see the hardship for us, for our staff in maintaining the differential fees, especially since everybody else manages to do it. I think it's the Village of Wanakee. It's just started using something called pet data.
Oh,
for
no,
their
they're getting rid of
system. Are they getting rid of it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. The main reason I wanted to change it to a flat dollar fee is because we're trying to offer more online options for people. And right now, to offer that, for someone to go in and to select, it was me and Michelle started building it with the altered and the non-altered dogs. And what if you have 2 dogs or 3 dogs and 2 are altered and 1 isn't, and this and that. And the list was getting this long for people to pick from on what they were paying for. And we're like, it'd just be so much easier if there was just one fee. We have 2 options for them to pick from. And it's really not, it's not like it's our revenue and we need to, make it, even if it's $20 for both dogs. To me, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to simplify it so it would be easy for someone to go out there, license their dog online. They can easily pick the payment option. We can mail them off their license. We're trying to get more people to license their dogs. We only have about 800 dogs licensed every year.
Right.
Which is ridiculously, I'm sure, I don't know how many unlicensed dogs you pick up, but is way low if you consider how many households are in Middleton. We tried working with the veterinary clinics one year, like post this poster on their dog, their door, or is your dog licensed? And we didn't get an increase of anything. People just don't license their dogs. As far as the late fee, I don't know how long that's been in the ordinance, but when I started here 20 years ago, we've never charged a late fee. So I don't, if you want us to, we can, but then we should also be ticketing people that park around the school that don't get, it's not regulated. So, I don't know. That's just my thought.
Well, Elder Olson and then Elder Hanero and then Elder Emily there. So Olson.
Lori, you don't do anything with the dog park fees, right?
We do. We issue the dog parks.
You'd issue those.
Yes.
So when they get that, then is there any check to make sure that their dog's licensed to be there?
Usually they're applying for it at the same time,
Yeah.
but if someone does come in from another municipality, we ask to see their dog license because there's not many people around that do the dog parks, the dog park permits. So
they can pay a fee each day that they're there, right? Is that?
Yes, at the park.
They
I
issue
think
gold.
there's a drop box, or there was a drop box.
Yeah. When they come in from a different municipality, there's enough charge for that.
No, not for the park. The county sets those
Oh, okay,
fees,
very
and
good.
it's I think it's 43 for park, and then a second dog is an additional 20, and then there's a senior discount.
The daily fees are probably what's making up the difference, because when you have about 800 licensed dogs,
Yeah.
so there's more than that use those dog parks for sure.
And I do not believe, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we keep any of that money from the dog park permits.
That would go to parks, right?
I think they bill us for those.
For maintenance, right? You have a fund.
It goes all to Dane County, all that money. Yeah.
Boy, they better be paying us for that, isn't it? So, are you done? Okay. Elder Hanero?
Just 2 things. One, so if people are going to start paying online, how will you verify that their dogs have been vaccinated for rabies?
Yep, they upload a rabies certificate. We do our online dog licensing now. But right now what they're doing, and they upload their certificates, we're trying to increase that. They're just having problems with the payments out there. We're switching our credit card processing payment company that we used. And right now they just enter in a dollar amount, and Michelle's having issues with people just not paying the right amounts because they're trying to figure out how much they have to pay on their own. So we're trying to alleviate that because that's taking staff time for her to contact all of them. Oh, you didn't pay the right amount. Send this in. I mean,
Okay.
it's probably more than the late fees.
Well, and Fitchburg has a different system, so I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a system we can emulate. And then the question for Larry is, do we have an option to not follow state law saying we need to charge a late fee?
Well, that's like saying the statutory speed limit in a neighborhood which the houses are closer than 200 feet apart is 35 miles per hour. It says that in the statutes. There are some statutes that are enforced less than others.
Very crafty answer, Larry.
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
Cool.
My only ask, and you might have already answered this, is do we get like a follow-up notice? And I'm saying because when my dog, we adopted her, we got her license because our vet told us to. So that actually worked for us. I know we got it in year 2, but with the pandemic, I'm like, I don't know if I might be one of those folks who might have to pay the $5 fee, and I'm okay with that. Do we send out a letter?
In the tax bill, right? Bill, do you still have that on the tax insert? We used to, I know, put something about dog licensing on the. Yeah,
Just reminding you to do it.
yes.
So you're not keeping track and sending it out to the people that have done it. Because that would be a
Used to
nightmare.
send out postcards to people that sent it, but the people that are getting dog licenses are the ones that get it every year typically. So it's kind of a.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would be
Yeah.
valuable to send out a postcard,
Yeah.
especially because we have so many new residents with the pandemic, and a lot of people adopted dogs in the pandemic. But if you've tried it in the past and
Yeah.
the return isn't there, then I will make sure I go home tonight and see when last I put my paperwork in.
Well, and that's something to point out when you have the license on your dog. I just know because I just put mine on my dogs today and it has the date, but it has the year on it. It has no indication of when you purchased it. And when you purchase it, you're like, oh, I'm buying it for the year. So you're like, oh, if I'm buying it in December, it's good until next December, but it's not. It's only good until the end of that year. So it's a little bit of confusion. So I can see that a lot of people might be a little caught off guard in the fact that they're late when there's no indication on the license itself that it expires before April of the next year. So
I think they have a year, just the year 2023 or 2022. I don't know.
and I think most people don't keep their dog license paperwork around. It's the thing that's on the collar.
Well,
So-
my wife did. She was there right at the door. So I mean, she took care of it.
So- oh,
Alden has.
And just imagine the money wasted if we were to send postcards to people and their dogs had passed away and just.
So if I may make a substitute motion to approve.
But could I ask Lori first? Lori, and what would be the best option for you, which takes the least amount of your time and hopefully get more compliance?
Yeah.
To get more dog licenses?
Yeah, more compliance. I mean, if they have a dog, they better have a license. So what would you suggest is?
Well, I did. It's in the ordinance.
Oh, okay. So this is your suggestion that they pay $25 and that's it?
The $25 flat fee, yes.
Okay, all right.
Just a question, how is that going to increase compliance though? That's.
I don't know if it'll increase compliance, but that's the easiest way for us to administer
Okay,
the online dog licensing, and maybe that
Okay.
will increase compliance
Yeah,
because they can
user-friendly.
so I'll look.
certainly go online and easily make their selections and.
So Elder Kendall, you're making substitute motion?
I would like to make a substitute motion that we approve a change to amend section 3.12 of the Middleton General Ordinances relating to dog licenses as recommended by staff.
Okay, need a second.
This is Katie, I'll second.
Okay, any further question or comments now? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone?
No.
Okay, so motion passes 7-1. Luke, welcome back.
Apologies, everyone. That was a technical on my side, not the city side. So
Okay.
no problem. Everyone's coming through loud and clear. FYI. On
Okay,
on this
do you have a
motion.
dog?
I do have a dog. Yes, thank you.
And I won't ask you if you have a license.
Of course, I have several licenses.
Okay, thank
Now
you.
he's frozen.
Okay. So this was the first, this was the first reading. Kendra, or did you amend the?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it was. Yes, I will move that we suspend the rules.
Is
I
that-
second.
Okay, is that okay with you? Pardon me? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, okay, so you're okay now. So motion passes 8-0. Okay. Item number,
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
we are on to resolutions.
they have to vote on it again because that was the motion that just passed was the motion to suspend the rules. So they could do it in one reading. So now they have to vote again now that the rules have been suspended.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the motion to approve the drug license fee as approved by the staff, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Well, all right, this is 7-1 now. Okay. We are on to resolutions. In the past, we didn't really vote separately. Do we need to vote to spend? All right, let's not spend too much time on that one now. So resolution 2023-04, providing for the sale of approximately $4.6 million in general obligation promissory notes. Why approximately? Bill?
The reason it's listed as approximately is it gives us the flexibility to potentially downsize the issue if rates come in more attractive or there's a larger bond premium. And that's an option that would be decided when this comes back on March 7th. We'll present the results of the sale. And if there is a reason to recommend an adjustment to lower the dollar amount, that we would do that at that time.
So we're getting 3.3% now or something like that?
You right now, as Brad Begood indicated at the Finance Committee, if the issue were in the market today, he would estimate that we'd be about 290.
Oh, 290.
For planning purposes, they use numbers that are a little bit more conservative, I think 3.2% approximately in the materials.
Okay, I need a motion to approve. We need the money.
Ramsey, move to approve.
Need a-
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? This is the borrowing for the capital projects next year. Including 1.5 million is including for the Pheasant Range Conservancy repairs. Okay, if there are no questions or comments, all those in favor of the approving the resolution 2023-04, providing for the sale of approximately $4.6 million for general obligation promissory notes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You are muted, Luke.
Sorry, I said aye.
Okay, all right. We are on to item number 2, resolution 2023-05, authorizing the reappropriation of 2022 capital project fund carryovers to 2023 and related budget adjustments. Elder Hanero.
I will move as recommended by finance that council approve $4,245,402 in carryover for capital projects. Allocate $100,000 in excess funds to the library bathrooms project, $186,020 to the vehicle replacement fund, and leave $100,000 unallocated in the capital projects budget.
Need a second.
Ramsey, a second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Otherwise, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to item number 3, resolution 2023-07, approving a grant of access easement for cell tower access to Pleasant View Golf Course. City engineer, Sean, do you want to say anything? I looked at all those pictures and things. Just anything which you want to say before we make a motion?
This is also now move approval.
Need a second.
This is Wilkes, I'll second.
Any questions or comments? This is that huge tower, right?
I don't think there's anything unusual about the tower. It just happens to be on a hill.
Okay, all right. It's on a hill. So we are going to build a road there and that's how it is. So Okay, any questions for Sean? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion to approve the resolution 2023-07, approving a grant of access easement for cell tower access through Pleasant View Golf Course, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Committee appointments. Appointment of Jamie O'Donnell to Park Recreation and Forestry Commission. So the Joan Perry, she resigned and she want to, I don't spend more time with kids. And we have a Jamie O'Donnell is appointment. Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the appointment of Jamie O'Donnell to Park Recreation and Forestry Commission and the appointment of Patrick Sheehan to the Middleton Police Commission. And further, that in the future, individual appointments be considered for approval as a group, just like they are at the beginning of terms.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Anyone
I need
opposed?
We need
I
a
need a
second.
second.
Oh, okay,
It's Wokus, I'll second.
okay, all right. All those in favor of the motion,
Question, then, if they're put together, let's say you got 6 or whatever, and it's not like consent agenda, can you just pull one out, or can you,
well, you can always pull anyone out.
so that there's that option yet, if they're all put together and we have a question on one?
Yeah.
Yes, and I wasn't suggesting it go on the consent agenda.
No, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like consent. agenda.
Oh, okay, I see
You
what
have
you
the
mean. Yep.
block, we have a block, a slate of names, and we'd be able to say, okay, let's talk about this or not.
Larry,
Yep, we used to do that in the past and it was changed to separate so that it would be easier to consider each one individually. Nothing wrong with approving them together, but this simply made it more, made it simpler to
Right,
to
and
separate
after
them
the
out.
first, the first part of the, like in May, where, when they were appointed, there's usually not that many, but putting it together would make sense, and if you can pull them out. if you need to.
okay, we did vote on this one, right? Or not? All,
Kind of out of order, but we should probably.
okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We are on to discussion. And this is the new thing, and every one of you have an opportunity, all the elders serving in various committees. And raise your hand and make it, all right, Elder Katie Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to report on an emergency meeting that was held for L&O License and Ordinance last week, Tuesday, regarding the use of Stonehorse Green for the CXC folks after a big ski race. And the permit was for permit of use of the place and a amplified sound permit. It was denied, but I want to make sure people understand we're still hashing out the ordinance of who can use Stonehorse Green. It has to be a city-run event. This event was sponsored by the tourism division. At the same time, the ordinance wasn't clear to everyone. And Yuri, who runs CXC, was really nonplussed by either decision. He was saying that it would be kind of a hassle to get all of his racers who were tired after a day of racing to come down to the Stone Horse. This event was sort of suggested to him by Matt Stroh-Snyder, and a great suggestion. But Yuri was saying, I think it would be more hassle than it's worth. So I don't want anyone to think that there was any contention about the issue. It's just, we are still making some adjustments to the ordinance, and we just wanted it to be smooth for everybody. So there was a little trepidation about that, but in the future, we look forward to permitting lots of events at Stonehorse. We want to really roll out the red carpet. So
Oh, that's wonderful, Katie. I got some angry emails.
I
and
understand. I got a couple myself.
So I have talked to Abby, and I think we're going to sort it out. I think this is a lot of people paid a lot of money for this one. Let's use it.
Right.
Anyone else who wants to make any of the other committee reports, folks, this is your chance. Anything want to say about the library? Oh, Hanito, I'm sorry. I should pay attention to both sides. Yes.
Thank you. I'll report on two things. First, the Sustainability Committee is still meeting virtually, and we, at our
Still meeting virtually.
at our last meeting in January, we talked about the Sustainable Middleton Awards, which we do have. I think we had several applicants for organizations, not so many for individuals, but this is our first time doing it. We really hope that in future years, the word will spread and more people will apply to get these or nominate their neighbors to get these awards. We also ran out of time to discuss the mayor's monarch butterfly pledge, which is something that is of interest to the committee. And I believe it's got a March 31st deadline. So we will be talking about that in February. It's something to get acknowledgement for Middleton actually doing a lot of things to try to promote butterfly habitat for monarch butterflies. We do a lot already. There are some more things that we can do, and this mayor's monarch butterfly pledge will be one way to get there. And then also on the finance committee, which of course is meeting in person, reporting from January 17th, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that I had brought up as chair to discuss with the members. We took no action because it was just for discussion. But first, I wanted to acknowledge that Administrator Gatto included an excellent transmittal memo in the budget document. I know we all got copies of the budget document. We may all have assumed, like I did, that it was just a copy of the final version of what we saw. But when I opened it up and read his memo transmitting the document, I realized it was much more than that. So I highly encourage you to read his transmittal letter, which emphasized that the budget is more than simply a listing of revenues, expenses, funding sources, and capital projects. And he went on to explain why. And then I also had brought up, and we discussed that, you know, we're going to have new council members in districts 1, 5, and 7. District 3 is competitive. So we talked about, but made no decisions on finance-related onboarding for all council members, but especially the new folks. The potential benefits of combining the finance and personnel committees as part of the larger discussion coming from our strategic planning process to improve governance efficiency by reviewing the function of committees, commissions, and boards and considering a consolidation. We talked about using existing ordinance 1.022C to make our meetings more efficient by putting more items on council's consent agenda, and then also evaluating compensation for elected officials, which have not been updated since 2007 for the mayor and municipal judge or 2008 for alders. And afterwards, Bill Burns did send us the, I think it was a 2018 compilation of data that Mike had transmitted. And so if anybody who's interested in learning more about that discussion, I encourage you to watch the video and read Brian's memo.
Excellent. Anyone else? Yes, Elder Emily Kuhn.
Yeah, I'm on the Aging Commission, and one of the things that they are working on constantly is policy for seniors, whether that's transit, working on the future senior center. They're trying to prioritize and be thoughtful about it. So I was glad to see that they came to the committee of the whole to listen in. They are a very interested group. One of the things I want to point out is the programming at the senior center is robust, and I'm really proud of them. Tammy has really brought in more programming. It's always been a very good programming. I say that because I happened upon our sister city, Madison, and someone asked me a question if something was available, and we looked at Madison's, and it wasn't. We actually had a more robust programming than Madison, and I was very impressed. I've always been impressed, but I have to share, they are doing really great stuff. I'm also on public safety. They are meeting next week. We have a lot of new members on public safety over the last 3-4 years, and they're taking turns in leadership and learning those Roberts rules and bringing great insights. They do a lot of data analytics. We talk about trend analysis and things going on, as well accountability. So if somebody ever makes a complaint, you know, maybe it's even, you know, they were having a moment and they call to make a complaint, they take it throughout the whole process, whether in reviewing it. I'm very impressed with what we're doing in a proactive manner with our public safety and with our local police. And the other thing that that I'm really enjoy being a part of is this last meeting, we brought up topics like what are some future topics for agendas? Kind of like in this moment. And I would say 90% of the committee had at least one idea that they threw out. And so they're coming forward with ideas. Lastly, I'm on the Stormwater Utility Board, and we are looking at when that stormwater utility fee is being sunset. So probably going to have another stormwater utility referendum because there's a lot of things being built and we will need to continue to fund things. So keep that on your next year and a half.
So Elder Kuhn, so one of I think the good news is in public safety, the crime is going down. Chief, when you look at the curve, it's way, way down. Public safety is number one. So that's a good thing. So Elder Randall, anything happening with the library?
I was going to point out that Commission on Youth met last night.
Okay.
For the last couple of months, we've been talking about strategic planning to kind of look at what is needed for youth in Middleton over the next couple of years, rather than just kind of looking at things that happen month by month necessarily. And that's something that Kylie has kind of urged us to do, and Gabrielle has also been working with us on having the commission looking at strategic planning and what are the things that youth need in the city. So ways to address that. So that's very robust. Library doesn't meet until next week, so we haven't met since our last city council meeting, but we usually have a very full agenda based on things that are going on kind of monthly. So that's where we are with library.
So hopefully you're talking about opening on Sundays?
I'm not sure that that's on the agenda for this next month,
Okay,
but
okay. Yeah,
we have not met since that's been brought up.
Okay, all right. I hope it's on the agenda. So on Commission on Youth, there are some really young students who are interested. So maybe I will talk to Carly, we can point some. Kendra.
I just have a question for Alder Kuhn about the Commission on Aging and the issues that they've had with the Meals on Wheels program. Can you tell us how they've been able to, because my understanding is that the new contract doesn't start until the 13th.
Yes.
So are they doing okay with?
Yes, thank you for asking. We were informed during the Aging Commission that had happened that afternoon. And what my understanding is that program couldn't handle the volume and that there were intermediate issues that they were attending to, but then they just said, we can't meet it. So locally they had groups stepping in, just like in other municipalities around. I think there's 13 municipalities that are served by that group. And the senior center volunteers were working together to get meals, but a lot of it will be the cold pack food until the new group can come in.
Yeah, I just saw some media coverage about other municipalities had restaurant consortiums stepping up to help with that. So I was just wondering if anything had happened within Middleton.
I think we had a few that did. And then the other thing is when we were briefed in Aging, a few of us on the committee volunteered, if you need to put sacks of lunch together, ask us. And I want to put that in a context, which is we do not have the right kitchen to do a warm meal in our senior center. And we have a capacity issue for that, where somewhere like maybe Sun Prairie might have a newer facility and can do that. So because of state regs, we don't have a commercial kitchen. It is something they talked about pre-pandemic about that was one of their wish list items. And even, it was more like someday we could have a cooking class or something. Like it was more intended for fun, but for a moment like this, you see the value in having that because other communities had more flexibility when this happened suddenly, where we have to go to a cold sack.
Yeah, commercial kitchen would be a good thing to have. Good question. So Elder Luke, you have an opportunity to say whatever commission you want to talk about.
The one update that I will provide that people may have seen in the paper is that the chair of the fire commission, who was a representative from the village. He was an attorney. He had been a part of the board or chair of the board of the Village of Westport for many years. He had been chair of the fire commission my entire tenure on it. Unexpectedly passed away back in late January. And so I just, if people feel the urge or the need, maybe reaching out to the other members of the Village of Westport board to express, condolences. Similarly, if people are interested, Mr. Sipsma's obituaries was recently posted in the State Journal. And his family contact information, including flower or gifts in lieu of, et cetera, posted there. I can personally say that outstanding public servant, and he will be sorely missed from the fire commission and from the Village of Westport.
And I agree with Elder Luke. I have known Ken Simpson for many years. Did a great job. Absolutely.
And just a point of information, Mayor, we did send flowers on behalf of the city.
Okay. Thank you, Brian, for pointing out to me. And yes, Salome.
I thought of one more update related to our committee of the whole meeting with the town of Springfield. And I did reach out to, I worked with Eric Sorensen to recruit Jim Bachhuber from the Water Resources Management Commission. And we are, I put out a doodle poll to the two members from the board in Springfield, Jim, Eric, Alder Fassard, and myself to organize the first meeting of our stormwater management work group. We're still waiting for a couple of people to fill out the doodle poll, but I wanted to let the committee of the whole know that we're following up on that particular task of addressing stormwater.
Actually, that's very important. Kudos to you. Anything about public works, our biggest and most important and super duper committee. I mean, the public works is Middleton and Middleton Public Works. So let's hear and
Parks.
okay. Oh, okay. Kendra, how about
And we had a parks meeting last night, and I'll make it very short and simple. Everything that we talked about, you voted on tonight.
All right. So let's hear about the public works now.
Public Works, well, there's a lot of different stuff that comes and goes within that committee, but I think the one thing that has been a consistent over the last couple of agendas is the Bruce Company's development on Parmenter and some questions about access points with the new development coming in and information that was provided by the traffic impact analysis. So there's still ongoing discussions on driveways and access.
Excellent. Any questions for anyone? Public Works does a lot. Sean, great job. So thank you. They have so much there, isn't it? It's just not just the roads, it's water, stormwater, and many, many things. Is there some committee which is missing now, which anybody wants to report now? Tourism, anything?
We had a special meeting for this cross-country event that they had last weekend. I haven't heard anything on how it went, but we'll find out at the next meeting.
Okay.
Have a CDA meeting coming up on Thursday over the
Yes.
green, get that ironed out.
Yes, CDA is coming up on Thursday. Well, Larry, is there anything that you want to say? We give you some time too. Brian, Lori, Bill, and Chief, do you want to say anything? It's okay, all right.
Did
Well,
we cover public safety?
Abby, or
Okay, thanks.
Lori.
okay.
Oh, in the back. Is that part of your training you're doing for the?
Yes, it's election worker training back there.
The 21st coming up?
Yes, I'm making everybody retrain.
It's important.
Taskmaster.
Well, elections are Brian, thank you for putting this, adding this item. I think it's going to be very useful. Well,
Technology is awesome. I
if
think it worked out
there's,
well.
if there's nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn now.
Ramsey will move to adjourn.
Nelson will second.
All right. Any discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that includes Luke. We are adjourned. And thank you to everyone. All right.